Hello, Mavericks. This is Rob Reinhold, and we are one day ahead of the US Payroll Report, so let's jump into it. Tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, we will get the US Payroll Report and also the Canadian Employment Report. We're going to be talking about both of them in this, and we can definitely take a look at a dollar CAD trade that's going to use the movement of both of these news events. But let's talk about where we are and what the expectations are for tomorrow's news. Now, last month, we had about 430,000 jobs, and this month, expectations for about 250,000 jobs. Now, the jobs report has gotten so skewed since COVID, because before COVID, a good jobs report was 200,000 plus. Now, we've had 1 million plus. I mean, we've had crazy numbers, and this number, still 250,000 jobs, is a huge number, but it is slowing. We take a look at Canada. Canada is also looking to have jobs, but they are still seeing a lot of job openings. And so when we take a look at the expectations are for the US Payroll Report to come in somewhere between $250,000 and $260,000 tomorrow. And the unemployment rate is supposed to stay steady at 3.6, and average hourly earnings are also supposed to be steady at plus 0.3. Now you can see the number of jobs that are going to be created, or at least expected to be created, has gone down quite a bit from last month. We take a look at the Canadian Employment Report. They're looking to create 20,000 new jobs. Last month, it was 40,000 new jobs. So it is a showing of slowing in economic growth. And we've seen that in all the other numbers. And it's definitely one of the things that has caused the equity markets to come down. We're starting to see some slowing growth. Let's go in and see how this has affected the actual currencies. First off, let's start with the cryptocurrencies. Now, we have been very bearish cryptos for 2 to 3 months now, and I've got to say that for the very, very first time in months, we have like a very, very slight bias to the upside. Now, look, this is a 4-hour chart, so we're looking fairly short term here. And you can see the EMA is actually climbing higher, meaning average prices have actually been going higher since about June 2nd. That's the longest we've seen that in about 3 months. It's still not a great signal. It's still a very low rising EMA. Let's take a look at some of the others. Sorry, this is Bitcoin Cash. Let's take a look at Bitcoin itself. So you can see Bitcoin itself is much steeper. And this one bottomed out on about July 3rd, and prices have been going up over that last week or so. So right here, right now, if someone said, Rob, I want to buy Bitcoin, any time over the last 2 months, I would have told you, you're insane. Just play something else. Now I'd be like, okay, that's okay. But the question is that the best trade out there? And to me, the answer is no. The foreign currencies are still way better to buy. Let's take a look at Ethereum. You can see Ethereum's even a little bit steeper. So for ranking these, I think Ethereum is a better buy than Bitcoin. And let's take a look at Litecoin. You can see Litecoin is basically just flat and going nowhere. So if you're going to buy a crypto, I put Ethereum at the top of that list, Bitcoin second. But look, this is nothing more than a bear rally within a longer term bear market. This trade better be quick. It better be controlled, because the long-term outlook for cryptos doesn't look great. We don't expect there to be much of a move in cryptos based on what the payrolls report says. Let's check in on the foreign currencies where we're likely to get a much bigger move. And let's check in specifically on dollar and the CAD. So here we have our dollar basket. This is the US dollar, equally weighted against the 7 other currencies we look to trade. And you can see here, we've had a nice uptrend, but now when you really get into it, there's really just some flattening. There's some flattening going on, and over the last 20 hours, there's really been no movement in the dollar basket. We're going into this report very, very neutral, short term on dollar. Now, if we take a look at the whole trend, the dollar is in an uptrend. And if we take a look at the daily chart, the dollar chart has broken out of its high it set in the middle of July or the middle of June. You have to say longer term dollar strength is still on the table. Short term, it's neutral at best. Let's check in on the CAD next. Going into this report, you can see CAD just had a pretty significant pullback from a new high. We had a new high here. We pulled back, And we've put in a very nice bounce here off this pullback. Now look, there is going to be some overhead resistance up around this area. But for right here, right now, CAD is showing us all the things we like to see. We have an upward sloping EMA, we've got parabolic SAR that's a bullish sign, and we got rising RSI. This one right here, right now is showing us it wants to go somewhere. So looking at the dollar and the CAD, dollar saying, we don't know. CAD is saying, hey, at least for right here, right now, going into the report, I am looking strong. Now the question we always ask a Maverick is whenever we identify a trend, the question is there going to be continuation or reversal? Is the CAD going to continue to stay strong, or is it going to reverse and become weak? That is really the question we're looking to ask. Now let's go through all the other currencies because we need to find out what are the strong and weak currencies because we need to pair these against something else. So if you're looking to be long CAD, you want to know what is the weakest thing I could pair this up against. Let's check in on the yen. Now, the yen has been in a slow-moving uptrend overall since June. You can see here, we're definitely on this bit of a pullback. And right here, right now, we got falling EMA. We've got parabolic SAR that is now above. And we have falling RSI. So short-term is telling us the yen is looking to go lower. How long that lasts, who knows? We really need to start to take a look at some support and resistance points. Maybe the yen can fall back down to this support level. Maybe there's going to be a little bit of support right around where it is. It looks like it's trying to find support in here, but not really finding it all that well. My guess is we go down to at least this area. Okay, that's an okay trade. Let's see if we can find something weaker. On to the Swiss franc. Now, here we've really seen a currency turn a corner. This is more than just a pullback like we're seeing in yen. We're seeing some major trend changing activity here to where we have simply been falling. And we are right down to this next level support. And you can see if we break that support level, there is a mile between this 125 and this 124 area. So for me, when I'm looking at, okay, I just looked at the yen, it was sort of weak. I looked at the Swiss franc and it's much more weak. I'm much happier looking to pair up a long CAD against something like a Swiss franc. But is that the best pairing? Is there something weaker than Swiss franc? And here is the euro, and that the answer is yes. There is something weaker than Swiss franc. Euro has just had a major break, and you can see that the euro is weak. The euro is very, very weak right now. So as weak as Swiss franc looked, the euro looks even weaker. Now look, this goes back into what we always ask a Maverick. Right now the euro is weak. Is that going to continue? Or is that going to reverse? Everything in this chart says is going to continue. I have no idea what it's going to do. But right here, right now, I know that the euro is extra, extra weak. So euro goes to the top of the list for the weakest currency at the moment. Now let's talk about pound, because pound had some really interesting information overnight. Boris Johnson has stepped down from the prime minister, and the pound has gone higher because of it. And the British stock market has gone higher because of it. I always thought about if you were a politician and the stock market went up when you quit, that is like the ultimate insult. That's just such a big insult when the stock market goes up because you quit. Again, I don't want to get into any sort of politics, but looking at the pound, you can see that the pound had been losing ground for weeks and weeks and weeks. And finally, we've seen the pound turn. Again, the question we always ask is continuation or reversal. We have had a continuation of weakness. We've been saying sell the pound, sell the pound, sell the pound, sell the pound. When we get new data that says the pound is no longer going to continue, it's looking to reverse, then we have to reverse. So at this point, I would much rather be long pound than short. Now look, the pound could easily sell off immediately after I just said those words. That was the high, and it could fall and would go down. That's why we have our position management and our stops, all that stuff. But right here, right now, pound is looking to go up. Before I jump onto, I'm going to buy the pound, the question is this the strongest currency at the moment? Now, we looked at the CAD, and the CAD looked pretty good, but let's take a look at stuff like the Aussie and the Kiwi. Here's the Aussie basket. Now I want to go back even further because you can see the weakness in Aussie. We had weakness in Aussie all the way through here. However, you can see that we have reversed. We have absolutely reversed. We put in a higher swing low, and you can see now we are getting a rising, ascending triangle here, and we just broke out. So when I'm looking at all the long currencies, the pound, yeah, it looked okay, but boy, the Aussie looks absolutely fantastic. Now look, there is going to be a little bit of resistance in here. We are right at these resistance levels. But once we break through those levels, to me, this is a really good buy. So I'm not looking to buy Aussie right here, right now. But once we back off, have a little bit of a base here, when this thing breaks out, I'm ready to jump on Aussie. Aussie's definitely at the top of my list here. And here we have the Kiwi. And you can see here, the Kiwi has stopped going down. But unlike the Aussie, it's not cranking higher. We do have some decent signals here that we are going to see some rising price action. But right here, right now, I've got to give this like a +1 at best. It's not a 0, but it's definitely not the greatest thing out there. When we take a look at all the currencies stacked up here, this is what we have. Aussie is clearly the strongest, followed by the CAD and the pound. If you're looking to play cryptos, I think Ethereum is your best bet. But like I said, I don't think there's a lot of juice behind this bounce. I think this is a dead cat bounce that we've fallen so hard so fast. There's going to be a little bit of a bounce. I would not want to be in this thing long term at all. +1, we have the Kiwi. If it shows me a little bit more, I can bump that up to a +2. Bitcoin Cash doesn't look great. Litecoin looks terrible compared to the rest. Dollar is at a 0. So going into this report, I've got to say that the dollar is a coin toss. Now look, it has been in an uptrend, so if I had to make a bet on dollar, if I had to, I would be long dollar. Very reluctantly, but that's how I'd have to be because the longer term trend was higher. Here's the great thing about trading. You don't have to be in a trade. You don't have to do anything. I can say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to look at dollar until well after the report. I'm going to be focusing more on the CAD. The weakest currencies, the yen is at a -2, Euro is the number 1, Swiss franc also weak. So going into just regular trading over the next 24 hours, if it wasn't about a news report, I would absolutely be looking to be short Euro Aussie and long Aussie Swiss franc. Those would be my only trades that I was looking at over the next 24 hours. However, that's not what this session is about. This session is about the news. We are going to be trading the news. Now, we are going to be meeting live tomorrow morning at 8:15 Eastern Time as a firm. We will be making live trades around this announcement. We always talk about trading before a news announcement. There is lots and lots of risk of trading news in Forex. A lot of risk. So let's break down the 3 ways to trade news. Number 1, entering before the announcement. Now, entering before the announcement is the riskiest way to play this news, and it's also the way that makes you the most amount of return. So you get both. You get the riskiest and the biggest payoff entering before. So that's where you take a position before the announcement comes out, and boom, you get that move. We'll talk about all the bad things that can happen to a trader when they enter before the announcement. You can enter on the news. Now, this is a way I really like to use where I have sitting orders out there. Where I have orders that are sitting out there that says, okay, if dollar Swiss franc goes above this level, I'm going to go long dollar Swiss franc. And I put that order out there, the news comes out, and it doesn't go my way, it just falls apart. Guess what? I never took the trade. I just stuck an order out there to be filled if certain levels were broken. And then a second stage entry, this is where you let the announcement go, and then you place your order in 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes after, and we call that a second stage way to play news. Let's talk about some of the risks here. I want to make sure everyone's ready for tomorrow because slippage is the risk. And this is the biggest risk of entering before the announcement. If you enter a trade before the announcement and then you put in a stop, guess what? You may not get your stop price. So if you were short pound Aussie here and you put in a stop at 183.10, your order goes out to the market at 183.10. If it's moving fast, you may not be filled until 183.35. That is slippage. So what happens is there's lots of slippage on orders. Anytime you're trading before a news announcement, you have a very, very high chance of experiencing slippage on your stop orders. So this is something, again, you have to be really concerned about, because if you think, okay, well, I'm going to put in a stop, I only have, $500 of risk. That's not true. You might have $2,500 of risk based on your position size. So slippage is no joke. If you don't know what you're doing, do not enter before the announcement. Another thing that happens very, very regularly around news announcements is the whipsaw. We actually saw this yesterday on the FOMC meeting minutes. Take a look at the candle yesterday on the FOMC minutes, and it was just like this one, where you get a run, and then it falls, and then it runs back up. This move screws everyone. If you were long with the stop order, you got stopped out. If you were short with the stop order, you got stopped out. Everyone lost because the currency didn't go anywhere. So this whipsaw action is very risky to trade as well. This is why if you're going to be trading on the news announcement where you have orders sitting there, make sure your orders are far enough away from the current market price. Make sure they're far enough away. Or one of the things I like to do is just wait 1 minute. Now look, this is a 1 minute candle. Wait 1 to 2 minutes for the freak out whipsaw to stop, then put in your orders. Then all of a sudden you're reducing some of the risk here. Then of course there is the safest way to trade news, which is the second stage entry. Let the news come out, let it freak out, let it do its whipsaw, let it do its thing, and then you pick an area. Okay, if we break above this level, so let's say, dollar Swiss franc shoots up to, 98. And then it falls back down to 97.80. You say, okay, if it goes back above 98, I'm going to go long dollar Swiss franc. And then that's your trade. You have avoided a lot of the risk. You won't have any slippage. I shouldn't say any, but you'll have minimal slippage if you have any. You won't get whipsawed, and you've got a much better trade. However, you're going to be missing out on some of the move. So that is just part of trading. That's what you have to accept, is that it's just part of trading. All right, let's look into some potential trades. As I said earlier, if I was just looking to trade, not trade a news announcement, just trade, I would absolutely be looking at short Euro Aussie. This would be my number one pairing. That's what I was hunting for. And the question is, where's the entry? And these are hard. These are hard because it goes down and then it goes sideways for like 2 hours and it falls. These entries are very tough. They're very tough. So there's two things you can do. You can do a pyramid style entry where you take a half a position now. And then if it does rally up, you take a half a position later. This will make it to where if we do get these little bear rallies like we see here and here, you don't get stopped out on them. To where you can take a half a position so you can have a stop twice as far as you would have. You can, again, do some pyramiding to get into these, or you can wait. You can wait for bases, which right here is a nice base. You can wait for little rallies. Right here is a nice little rally. So at this point, you're just waiting. Now look, this is just regular trading. I'm looking to trade the Canadian dollar tomorrow. So I am looking specifically at Euro CAD short. Euro CAD short. At this point, we already had a run lower. My expectation is we are likely to have a little bounce here. I would love to see a bounce up to this 132.40. That would just be a really juicy short entry up there. I have no idea if I'm going to get that or not, but that's why, again, we're going to be meeting tomorrow live before the announcement, and we'll be looking at this cross Euro CAD. The other one I wanted to take a look at is CAD Swiss franc. So you can see CAD Swiss franc ran up. We based for 5 hours here, and then we're starting to break out. CAD Swiss franc looks great. If anyone said, Rob, I would like to get into a trade now and then hopefully hold it over the announcement, should I do Euro CAD or CAD Swiss franc? And the answer is clear. CAD Swiss franc. We're breaking out of a high base here. Everything looks great on this. CAD Swiss franc looks good to me right here, right now. So to wrap this up, use your stop limit orders. If you don't know what a stop limit order is, go on and watch our videos on stop limit orders. You need to really control your entries around these news announcements. You've got to watch out for slippage. You've got to watch out for the whipsaw action. Stop limit orders are a way for you to control your risk in these kind of trades. So going into this, the dollar is a neutral currency. I am definitely not looking to trade the dollar on the announcement because, like I said, it's neutral. Flip a coin. I don't like to flip coins for my trading. I like to find things that are actually moving. So I am not going to be playing the dollar tomorrow. However, I am definitely looking to play the CAD. The CAD looks really good here. And the pound, the Aussie, the Kiwi, they're all looking strong. So I don't want to play the CAD against them. I want to play the CAD against something that's looking weak. And right now that is the euro, Swiss franc, and yen. So those are going to be the pairings that you should be looking at. CAD yen, euro CAD, CAD Swiss franc. Those are going to be the best looking trades for tomorrow morning. That is the preview for the payrolls report and the Canadian employment report. Goodbye, everybody.